Oh man, what a time. Hello again and thanks for staying with us. Celebrated jazz musician Gloria Bosman being remembered by colleagues and fans alike as a wise, insightful and incredibly gifted artist. She passed away at her Johannesburg home yesterday morning after a short illness. The 50-year-old had an illustrious career that saw her showcasing her talent across the world, in fact. So here to reflect for us on her life, perhaps her body of work, is Bully Munama, fellow artist, joining us in studio. And it's so lovely to have you, even under the circumstances. Thank you so much for making the journey.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, for inviting me, even we're here to talk about, unfortunate news.
Right.
Yeah.
I think given the kind of person she was, perhaps even her music, she'd certainly want us to err more on celebrating the great contributions she'd been able to make in the industry. But typically whenever you hear of someone's passing, you kind of think back to the last moments that you might have shared with her. Yeah. And I wonder whether any of those reflections have come up for you.
Well, I mean, it was November,
Wow.
And so November, we were on the panel doing a workshop for, Joy of Jazz. And, and again, she came to attend the colloquium that I was doing same month in November. Where she was too critical about, preserving the, South African music, with the same energy that, Americans, they do, and other Westerns, they do. So, at the workshop, I remember, she was, telling the attendees that, they need to find their own voice. They need to be unique artists. I'm just paraphrasing, what she said. She said that at Home Affairs, there is only one identity of Unyati. There's no, the fingerprint is only one. You cannot duplicate yourself to be like someone. So, she was knowledgeable. Remember that, she was classically trained, and, later on, she was introduced to jazz. So now, she was also a collaborator. Mm-hmm. If we were to ask, that's why today there's so much attributes pouring out. Because if we were to, bring everyone who worked with Gloria, they could fill up an auditorium. She was the leading voice of the fourth generation of African jazz.
Sure. And that's why, in those tributes, people speak about her as being incredibly versatile, right?
Yeah.
There's jazz in there, there's a bit of gospel. I feel, yes. A bit of spirituality in the aesthetic of some of, her videos and music. Great lessons to be learned about that as well. Yeah,
I mean, look, her character also, I think, it was a contribute in her music, because when Doris was here in the room, you will know that she will tease people around, and she never boxed herself as a vocalist. I mean, recently she started playing the guitar, and every time I will watch her playing the guitar, I'd say, hey, because if I were to make you to sing right now, you can't even match my singing, because she thought that maybe I was looking at a critical, with a critical eye. Yeah. And she lost her guitar player Zulile Pacela in between 2006 and 2007. And that's when I said to her, listen, I want to play with you, and at that time she was still mourning for the guitar player, so it took time for her to accept to play with me. And finally, when she played with me, she always reminded me that, right. Billy, remember the reason you are playing with me is because now you are talented and now is the time, you know. So if I were to say that if there's someone who's on my side, that will be Gloria, because every time I will do something, a project, he will send me some kudos and will say, man, thank you so much for inspiring us, you know. And yesterday I sent her a message. I said, hey, listen, your album is not available on iTunes. How can I get it? I did not know that the responses was going to be in her demise.
Yeah, absolutely. And condolences to you and many others who are close to her. Let's speak about that time when you're collaborating with her really on stage or in any other performance. How would you describe her approach to that kind of work? Because again, it was transcendental, man. Like it feels like we transcended perhaps things that you could put on sheet music in some instances. A lot of it felt a bit more improvised and intuitive, and unless you are in tune with someone like that, it's very difficult to make great music.
She was an improviser, so now by that I mean that you know, she was not a stagnant person. She didn't like to dwell or engage a longer, you know, period in preparations. You know, she trusted the musicians that she would work on it. Yeah, it's like, I know this thing is easy, man. It's like a rice, you know, you know what I'm saying? No, instead of you know, having 2 days of rehearsal, full day rehearsal, she was like, no, I think, guys, we got it. We don't have to rehearse if we got the music. So it was something like, she was someone like that who was not, you know, kind of stagnant, you know, and detailed, because she trusted the musicians that were on board with her.
It gives credence to what her family said in a statement in the wake of her passing, that music was her life. This is what she did, you know, and she was incredibly passionate as well, something you already touched on, about the South African sound more specifically. In fact, she's been quoted as having had mentioned that the world just loves what sounds authentically South African. You don't have to ever explain it to them. They don't have to understand the language. But if you stay true to that sound, it always resonates.
Yeah, he was conscientized, you know, and also critical about, you know, South African music, you know. And I think one of the things that made me to work with her, it was that I come from the school of, you know, playing maskanda and paqanga and jazz. So now when we get together, you know, things merged pretty well. And, you know, people, they might not know that she was also a writer of the publication called Imbizo. So last year she did like about covering musicians in that journal, you know. So she was a writer. Recently she was appointed as a board member of South African music rights organization that is called SAMRO. And, you know, we were looking forward to that journey, you know, of her being in the board, so that she can hear the outcry of the musicians from the side of being a practitioner.
Some are releasing their own statement, a couple of paragraphs long, just saying just how shocked they are, and pointing out that even though it was a short time, it was impactful, the contributions she was able to make at that level. We spent much of the morning playing Amakwat. It's probably one of the more common songs of hers from her first album, Tranquility, in the 1990s. I didn't know that Amakwat is actually a group of people, I think it is.
Yes, it's an ethnic group.
It's an ethnic group of, and as I was going through that, I thought to myself, wow, you know, there's also education in some of this music. I've been singing that song for as long as I can remember. I'm probably giving away my age, but, you know, from a point where I couldn't even make out what she was saying. But that really is a hallmark of her type of work, right? It's not just about great melodies and beats that are very clearly identifiable as being African, but there's also often a lot of history in the music.
Yes, I mean, look, as much as we as musicians, we go and study music, we get trained in classic, rock, well, you know, at the end of the day, we need to sing the music of our ancestors. I mean, that's what took, you know, the Miriam Makeba out of the country, because she was unique. She was not a typical jazz singer. And, you know, Miriam Makeba says that in the 1950s, during the African jazz variety, musicians like Duli Ratebe and Dorothy Masuku, they were singing American jazz in an American style. And she decided to sing African songs that her grandmother taught her, those lullabies. That's what made her unique. And I think that transcended into the next generation of the Gloria Bosman. That is why, I mean, even Sibongile Khumalo,
right.
She was classically trained, but she sings in Zulu. You know, I think if we sing in our mother tongue, you know, it is more easier to touch the soul of the black, African human.
Yeah, you speak of Sibongile Khumalo, Miriam Makeba, now Gloria Bosman.
That is the generation. That is why I'm saying that she was the fourth generation,
right.
because the first generation, it was the Miriam Makebas, the Dolora Tebe, and then the Sophie Kleiner, they were, and the Margaret Singana, they was the second generation, and then the Sibongile Khumalo, they were third generation, and then Gloria Bosman, she's the fourth, and then the Simpiwe Dana came, and then now we have the Beritas.
Right.
Yeah,
and the Zoe Mudiha.
Zoe Mudiha, yes.
Right, yeah.
So now those they are in the generation of the now. Then now the sound is called the Afro Soul.
Yeah.
So now you see where she was. You see what inspired her is those. I mean, like in her album, there's a song called Mbombela. That song, I mean, it's a cover that she did a rendition of it.
It's a classic.
It's a classic, you know what I'm saying? Because she come from that background of music. And when I was working with him, with Sipho Sticks Babuse, he says that, Prasipo says, you know, I'm the one who took you to sing jazz, because she was, more, oriented around a classic music. But today she's featured everywhere, classic, you name them.
Sure. And I suppose you've answered my next question as we round off. There's always a concern when the greats like Gloria Bosman sadly leave us, that, what happens to the sound? What do we do now with the great contributions they've been able to make, the legacies that they've been able to establish for themselves? And by the sounds of it, we're in good hands. When we think about the artists that have now, formed part of the fifth generation.
Yeah.
The Zoes we speak
Absolutely.
of. I don't know where you place yourself.
Yeah.
The likes of, I know, Keenan Mayer, who's great on the piano.
Yeah.
And Dumiso Manana, who's writing, has got him a Grammy Award, I believe. So as far as you're concerned, yes, they'll be missed, but, what they've started certainly continues.
It continues. And I'm sitting here being proud that as South Africans now, every concert where I go and every time I watch something on video, musicians, they are paying tribute, they are paying homage, so it's no longer a concept. It is like something that is given to happen in my performances. I have the whole set. If I do like a 2-hour set, the whole 1 hour is devoted to pay tribute to the masters who came before us, And so if you ask me, I'm just the fourth generation of the South African jazz guitar,
right.
Because the early guys from the General Duze and then Alan Kwela and then the Jimmy Glulus and then me, I'm there. I'm the fourth generation, to answer your question. So now the people, we as musicians, it is our responsibility to document and preserve that sound that it was created by the people, musicians who came before us. And we speak about people like the Gloria. And Gloria, all the time, used to tease me. It's like, oh, we're together here. You always reminded me that, Billy, I'm still older than you. You know what I'm saying? So, but I did not know that today we'll be paying tribute. I wish that we paid tribute to him while he was still alive. That's
Absolutely.
all that South Africans, they need to work on.
Certainly gone too soon, but a life well lived. Once again, condolences to you and many other artists who, without a doubt, are feeling this loss. Billy Munana, thanks for coming through and helping us walk down memory lane, in some instances with a lot of, I suppose with happiness, warm kind of memories coming forth as we remember the kind of contribution that Gloria Bosman made. Once again, thanks very much indeed.